Jordon Trishton Walker, who's allegedly Pfizer's Director of Research and Development, Strategic Operations, and mRNA Scientific Planning. He was caught on an undercover recording, admitting that he and other Pfizer executives have discussed mutating COVID viruses in order to develop tailored vaccines to treat them, which we would call gain-of-function research, which again is something that has become quite controversial because it is most likely gain-of-function research that most likely, at least very, very possible, that is the reason why we had the COVID-19 pandemic in the first place. So here's a Project Veritas journalist talking to the alleged Pfizer Director of Research and Development, Strategic Ops, and mRNA Scientific Planning, talking about the possibility of Pfizer itself doing gain-of-function research in order to create new vaccines.
Pfizer ultimately is thinking about mutating COVID?
Well, that is not what we say to the public. The virus keeps mutating.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things we're exploring is why don't we just mutate it ourselves so we can create unpredictably develop new vaccines, right? So we have to do that. If we're going to do that, though, there's a risk of as you could imagine, no one wants to be having a pharma company mutating viruses. You have to be very controlled to make sure that this virus that you mutate doesn't create something that goes everywhere. So you're not supposed to do gain-of-function research with the viruses, they recommend not. But you do these selected directional mutations to try to see if you can make more potent.
Yeah.
So there is research ongoing about that. I don't know how that's going to work. It's pretty good for the industry, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's bad for everyone else in America.
Okay, so why isn't this widely reported? I assume this has not been widely reported because, again, it makes Pfizer look really, really, really bad. And Pfizer has already been proposed as the great savior of Western civilization thanks to the COVID vaccines. Again, when it came to the COVID vaccines, I encouraged people who were elderly and people who were obese and had pre-existing conditions to take the vaccines. I took it myself under the false pretense that was promoted by Pfizer and our public officials that it prevented transmission and that it was necessary for people who were, my age, 37, 38. So I took it. If I knew then what I know now, would I have taken the vaccine? Probably not. There was no purpose to it. It doesn't prevent transmission. In people my age, COVID presented very little risk. By the way, I never encourage people who are under the age of, say, 30 or 20 to get the vaccine. My kids are not vaxxed, for example. But the fact is that the media have decided Pfizer are the good guys and people who oppose Pfizer are the bad guys. So they're just not reporting any of this sort of stuff. The institutional trust is gone, and it should be gone. We're going to go through the timeline of what actually happened in the Tyree Nichols killing, and we're going to talk about the media narrative. But here's the thing. You can't really trust the media on pretty much anything. You also cannot trust your internet service provider with your online data. They tell you that you're incognito when you're online. You are not incognito. They can see all the things that you're doing. They keep records of all that stuff. And then they sell that data off to make money. That is literally how they make their money. That's why it is free to use ISPs. Those ISPs are then actually selling off your data. Well, this is one of the reasons I use ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN reroutes your internet connection through their secure servers, so your ISP can't see or log what you do online. You might be wondering, well, if I'm routing all my data through a VPN, then can't the VPN see what I'm doing and log my data instead? You're right to ask that question. There are a lot of other VPNs that are free that claim that is exactly what they're doing, but they're actually gathering your data and then they're using it against you. ExpressVPN is the only VPN I trust because they use trusted server technology that makes it impossible for their VPN servers to store any data. I love ExpressVPN because it's also really easy to use. You hit one button, you download it, you hit one more button, and now it is activated. Stop letting people keep logs of what you do online. Visit expressvpn.com/Ben right now. Find out how you can get 3 months for free. That's expressvpn.com/Ben, expressvpn.com/Ben, expressvpn.com/Ben to learn more. In the aftermath of the sort of things you see with Tyree Nichols, I'm sure you're going to see a lot of woke signaling virtue corporations that are going to put out all sorts of statements about police brutality. And a lot of the corporations that you actually patronize hate your guts. That is not true of Pure Talk. If one of your goals this year is to do business with companies who share your values, perhaps you should check out Pure Talk. Pure Talk is the antidote to woke wireless companies. It is proudly veteran-owned, employs a U.S.-based customer service team. It absolutely refuses to spend money on fake news networks. Pure Talk's service is fantastic. They're one of the largest networks in the country. You can get blazing fast data, talk, and text for as low as $30 a month. That's probably half of what you're paying for Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile. You can switch over to Pure Talk in as little as 10 minutes while keeping your phone and your phone number. Your first month is guaranteed risk-free. There's a reason I use Pure Talk for all of my business calling needs. This year, make it a goal to support the companies that don't actually hate you. Go to puretalk.com, enter promo code Shapiro, save 50% off your very first month of coverage. That is puretalk.com. Promo code Shapiro. Pure Talk is simply smarter wireless. Go check them out right now. puretalk.com. Promo code Shapiro. Save 50% off your very first month. Do what I did and switch over. Stop paying the big wireless companies to sponsor a bunch of causes you don't like. Instead, head on over to puretalk.com. Use promo code Shapiro. Save 50% off your very first month. Another story from this weekend that mirrors this exact issue. A shadowy army unit secretly spied on British citizens who criticized the government's COVID lockdown policies in Britain, according to the Daily Mail. Military operatives in the UK's Information Warfare Brigade were part of a sinister operation that targeted politicians and high-profile journalists who raised doubts about the official pandemic response. They compiled dossiers on public figures, such as ex-minister David Davis, who questioned the modeling behind alarming death toll predictions, as well as journalists like Peter Hitchens and Toby Young. Their dissenting views were then reported back to Number 10. Documents obtained by the civil liberties group Big Brother Watch and shared exclusively with the Daily Mail exposed the work of government cells such as the Counter-Disinformation Unit based in the Department for Digital, Culture, Media, and Sport, and the Rapid Response Unit in the Cabinet Office. I mean, this stuff is terrifying. And one thing, we at the Daily Wire were so opposed to these mandates that we literally spent 7 figures suing the Biden administration. We're the only major company in America in the media sphere to sue the federal government in order to stop the vax mandates for American citizens. But the institutional trust here is totally gone, and it should be totally gone. By the way, side note here, I'd like to congratulate Novak Djokovic, who would undoubtedly be the world leader when it comes to Grand Slam tennis events, had he not been banned from tennis for about a year because he refused to get the COVID vax. There's no reason he should have had the COVID vax. He said he'd already had COVID, number one. Number two, he's one of the healthiest people on planet Earth. He won the Australian Open at the age of 35, and he won it in convincing fashion. He is now tied for the career lead in Grand Slam trophies. He has 22 of them. He undoubtedly would have 23, 24, maybe 25 if he had not been banned from the sport. He still can't come to the United States, by the way, and participate in like the U.S. Open. That's how insane all of this is. And then people wonder why the institutional trust is absolutely gone. That would be the reason why the institutional trust is absolutely gone all over the world. And particularly trust in the media, who have been lying to you all along and are willing to propagate narratives even beyond the point where it is very clear that these narratives are no longer true. They just hide things they don't like, and then they reveal things that are not true in the first place. Okay, meanwhile, the Democrats are very, very upset over the fact that the Republicans are moving to boot Adam Schiff and Eric Swalwell and Ilhan Omar from their particular committees. This is in direct response to the fact that Nancy Pelosi kicked a bunch of Republicans off of committees. Now, again, some of the Republicans she was targeting aren't my favorite Republicans. Doesn't matter. You don't get to do that. You don't get to kick the opposing party's people off committees. The opposing party gets to choose who staffs their committees and who does not. Nancy Pelosi broke the rules. Therefore, Republicans are responding in kind. So, over the weekend, you had Adam Schiff and Eric Swalwell and Ilhan Omar pretending to be very, very offended that they are being booted from their various committees by the Republicans. Here they were over the weekend on CNN.
Do you believe that the pattern that your colleague here has put out there is, as Republicans are saying and some Democrats say, rise to the level of anti-Semitism?
Dana, I believe that this is all a pretext. And if you look at the leader of the Republican Party, Donald Trump, he is dining with white nationalists and anti-Semites. This is merely the weakness of Kevin McCarthy's speakership, that he's so reliant on these extreme members. I mean, how can you, on the one hand, suggest that these are some kind of legitimate basis for unseating Democrats from committees and put someone like George Santos on any committee? The hypocrisy just grabs you by the throat.
Okay, look how Adam Schiff refuses to answer the question as whether Ilhan Omar is an anti-Semite. Of course she's an anti-Semite. Everybody knows she's an anti-Semite. What a pathetic human being Adam Schiff is on every particular level. He happens to be a Jewish guy, so this is particularly ridiculous for Adam Schiff. He sat next to her on CNN pretending she's not an anti-Semite. She is a ridiculously overt anti-Semite, Ilhan Omar, the congresswoman from Minnesota. My favorite part of this particular interview, where Adam Schiff is trying to explain why he and Ilhan Omar and Eric Swalwell shouldn't be kicked off of their various committees, is Ilhan Omar explaining she didn't know that it was anti-Semitic to say that Jews are very into money. It's a giant mystery to her. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure it was a giant mystery to Ilhan Omar. She was just ignorant. That's all it was. It was just ignorance, which is why she keeps saying anti-Semitic things over and over and over, like calling the state of Israel an apartheid state and essentially rooting pretty openly for Hamas. She loves Jews, guys. She just doesn't understand any of the tropes. That's the real issue here.
When you apologized for all about the Benjamins comment, you said anti-Semitism is real, and I'm grateful for Jewish allies and colleagues who are educating me on the painful history of anti-Semitic tropes. What did you learn?
A lot. I certainly did not or was not aware that the word hypnotize was a trope. I wasn't aware of the fact that there are tropes about Jews and money. That has been a very enlightening part of this journey.
Schiff is just sitting there. He's like stone-faced. He's like, yeah, oh man, this is awkward. Oh, this is just terrible. I can't believe how awkward this is. It's so terrible. Honest to God, you people, And when I say you people, I mean Democratic Congress people sitting there pretending that Eric Swalwell should be on the Intel Committee after banging a Chinese spy, or Ilhan Omar should be on the Foreign Affairs Committee being a ridiculously open anti-Semite, or Adam Schiff should be on the House Intel Committee after spewing for years Russian propaganda nonsense. What a joke. What an absolute pathetic joke these folks are. Alrighty, guys, the rest of the show is continuing right now. You're not going to want to miss it. We'll be getting to Ronna Romney McDaniel winning re-election as head of the RNC for some unspecified reason. Plus, the media declaring that if you are a Jew and you go to synagogue in Jerusalem and you get shot, that's a cycle of violence. If you're not a member, become a member. Use code Shapiro at checkout for 2 months free on all annual plans. Click the link in the description and join us.